Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Atari A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari 8-bit games, some which I grew up with and some which are new to me. Today is one of the latter. Today we're looking at Baby Berks, which was originally released in 1985 for the 16K Commodore computers. It was developed by a guy called Jon Williams, who in the Atari field is best known for his game Jet Boot Jack, which was one of English Software's flagship titles at one point, and also for his disk menu system known as Multi-Boot XL. Now I've got a box full of pirated discs up there, most of which make use of Multi-Boot XL to allow you to pick between different games that are all stored on one disc. So yeah, it's fair to say that Jon Williams had a substantial influence and impact on the Atari 8-bit gaming sector. Now the interesting thing about this game is that the Atari version is pretty new. The Atari version only came about because an AtariAge forum member expressed an interest in an Atari port of this game in 2018. And Williams happened to be browsing the forum at the time, and he saw this thread. So he popped in and said, well, would you like me to make a port of this? And then 1 month later, he did. So you can now download this port for free from the AtariAge forum, and probably some other places as well. I got it through HomeSoft, I think. So let's go play Baby Berks. Okay, here we are with Baby Berks, written by Jon Williams. Like I say, this is a 2018 port by the original creator of a game that was originally for the Commodore 16 and Plus 4, I believe. Don't know the whole background of this, but apparently Berks was a series that ran on the Commodore computers, and Baby Berks was originally a machine code type-in listing, I believe, and then it got a commercial release. Something like that, anyway. But like I say, you can pick up this version for free from the Atari Mania forums, the AtariAge forums, and various other places online as well. So let's begin. So in this game, your job as the whirly morphing thing in the middle is to destroy all of the blue Baby Berks while avoiding the green Big Berks. And you do that in sort of berserky Robotron style by moving around and shooting. Now, the green Berks you can only stun. So you just have to kill the blue Baby Berks in order to clear the level. Whoops. You also can't destroy the eggs that the Baby Berks hatch out of as well. So you have to kind of be a little bit careful about how you move around the level, lest you find yourself getting trapped in the midst of a whole bunch of Berks. Alright, that's our first wave down. Let's continue. So first off, you just have to wait for one of these to start hatching. There it is. And then you can blast it as soon as it's ready to be blasted. And in the meantime, try and stave off the nasty green dudes as well. Whoops! We'll get killed by them. Also good. Where are we? Yeah, I'd not come across this game before for obvious reasons. But I really like it. It's presented really nicely. It makes good use of the 8-bit's capabilities. It's got some lovely graphical effects, like that sort of rainbow colour effect that's going down the side. That was sort of quite a beloved effect of Jon Williams, from what I can make out from what he was saying in the AtariAge thread. And it was also something he made a real effort to sort of recreate from the Commodore 16 original. Because the two systems have quite different hardware to one another, he had to sort of work out some distinct hacks to get things working in quite the same way. And that included things like, if you look at the way your character fires, it actually fires from one of its appendages rather than from its center point. And someone commented on that on the AtariAge thread about the game, and said, well, why did you do that? I much prefer games where you shoot from a center point, because it's a bit easier to deal with. And Williams pointed out that it was because if you look at the way the... Let's just die, shall we? If you look at the way the Berks are moving, they're moving by character rather than by pixel. And so shooting by appendage meant that he could line up the shots with the characters where the Berks were going to be on screen. and that meant that you could always hit something, and it also made it just made it a little bit more challenging as well, because if you are firing from the center point, you would effectively be covering 2 characters worth of space on the screen, whereas if you fire from one of the appendages, you're covering just 1, so you have to line up a little bit more accurately. But at the same time, it also means that it's impossible to actually miss something as well, by means that aren't your fault. Obviously, you can still miss if you don't actually line up your shots properly. But it's not a game where you'll feel like the collision detection is actively working against you. So I guess that must mean this is running in... I don't know actually, because there's more, obviously more colours on screen. So there's obviously some fancy display list stuff going on in this. But I guess each of the characters must be made up of 2. Each of the enemies must be made up of 2 characters, in the sort of graphics 1 proportions, so the sort of wide and squished proportions, but layered on top of each other so that they look like tall sprites. So they look like the sort of things that you'd expect from graphics 2, if you know your Atari graphics modes. But then at the same time, you'll see that we've also got multicoloured characters moving around the screen as well. So like I say, there's almost certainly some fancy display list stuff going on in there. And Jon Williams was certainly good at that stuff. I mean, we've already seen the rainbow colour flow effect on the title screen of this. We've got the rainbow down the sides of the screen there, which is far more colours than the Atari is supposed to be able to display on screen at once. And yeah, there you have it. So yeah, like I say, this port came out in 2018. As far as I'm aware, there hasn't been any sort of attempt to do a physical release of this or anything, because Jon Williams appeared to just do this port out of the goodness of his heart, which, bless him. So he hasn't really shown any interest in sort of doing a physical version of it, to my knowledge anyway. But I mean, this is a really fun game, and this is the sort of thing that I could see people happily paying money for, to have a copy on disc or cartridge. Because it's one of those games that's just really simple, but there's a lot to it. There's a lot of variation in the levels. It gets challenging as you progress, as the speed increases and the sort of complexity of the enemy layouts increases. And I don't know how many levels there are, but you know, it's an arcade game. It's not really about how many levels there are. It's about how sort of addictive the score chasing is, and how it increases the challenge gradually as you progress, so that the further you get, the more you're showing off your skills. But yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of this. And it always really warms my heart when you see a creator from the good old days engaging with the modern retro community and sort of acknowledging their past work, and working together with the retro community to help preserve some of these experiences, provide new twists on these experiences, and all that sort of thing. I haven't followed Jon Williams' career closely, but certainly in the AtariAge thread he said that the work he did for English software and on Multiboot XL and stuff ended up leading to a sort of pretty fruitful career all round. So I don't know what he's done since then offhand, because I haven't really looked into that side of things, but yeah, like I say, even that aside, it's great to see creators like Williams engaging with the modern retro enthusiast community and bringing new life to some of their classic titles, or bringing them to new platforms.
That's quite an active scene in the modern Atari space in particular. As there's an AtariAge is quite a good place to go if you're interested in that sort of thing, because there are lots of ongoing projects there of people who are porting games that never came out on Atari for one reason or another to the Atari. So I know just offhand at the time of recording I've seen things like there's a port of Wonder Boy that is in progress at the minute, for example. And I'm sure there's plenty of other ports of sort of classic 8-bit era titles that never got an official Atari release. Much to the upset of Atari owners all over the world, or let's be realistic, mostly in Europe. But yeah, if there was ever like a Commodore 64 or a Spectrum game that came out back in the day that you always wished you'd be able to play in your Atari, a good thing to do is pop on over to AtariAge and say, hey, wouldn't it be great if... Because someone will probably go, yeah, that would be cool. Give me a minute. And you might be surprised. So like I say, judging by the post dates of the discussion surrounding this game, Jon Williams' port of this took about a month. Or it was about a month between the initial post of the thread and Jon Williams going, hey, here's an executable file with the Atari version of Baby Berks. Enjoy. Oops. Anything I'm not 100% sure about with this from a sort of mechanical design perspective is the fact that you get extra life after every stage. And that does feel a little bit like it extends the playtime beyond where it might otherwise have been. But we'll see. If you notice up in the top left corner, our skill level has been gradually increasing as we go through the game from novice. We're now up to expert, so I haven't really been paying attention. But I guess are we going around through the same levels, but at a higher speed or something, perhaps? I'm not sure. I haven't been paying close enough attention to the level design to say that for sure. Oh, I think I've trapped myself again. Yep. Okay, so I think my lives are going to decline quite rapidly from this point on. He says, obliterating the baby Berks wherever they may stand. Yeah, I think probably the trickiest thing about this game is sort of the start of the level where you don't know where the baby Berks are going to come from first, and so you're not sure what the best place to position yourself is going to be. So you just have to try and make sure that you're not in the path of the greenies. Otherwise they will come and make your day miserable. That's 13 waves down. Whoops! I'm sure I was pressing the fire button then, but I won't be that guy. I was pressing the buttons, but they weren't doing anything. I'm pressing the buttons. My controller came out. I can honestly say, in my many years of gaming, I have never been such a sore loser that I pulled my opponent's controller out. And I'm not sure how many people actually did that, to be honest. It just seems like such a petty thing to do. But I don't know. You know what this game needs? It needs some Berserk-style synthesized speech. Dragon, fight like a robot. Except in this case, I guess it would be, please stop killing my children. My baby! Why are you killing my baby? Yeah, it's kind of harsh when you think about it, isn't it? You're just going around slaughtering infant Berks for the sole crime of daring to exist. So who is the bad guy really, hmm? I put it to you that it is you who are the one who is the bad guy. Whoops! What with your infanticide? Sorry, there's a cat running back and forth, and I'm not sure what she's doing. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of reaching a point where I don't know if it's getting any harder, and so I'm just sort of getting extra lives at the same rate I'm losing them, so... Yeah, I don't know if it is going to get any more difficult than this. But we might be here a while. But even so, like I say, this game is enjoyable. It's not like we are facing an onslaught situation. Next. I haven't noticed a repeat in the level layouts yet, but like I say, I haven't been paying super close attention to that, so it may be that I'm just not seeing it, but... Uh-oh. Oh dear. Oh dear. It's surprising how claustrophobic this game manages to be. I mean, there's only ever 1, 2, 3, 4... hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 enemies on the screen. Not including the baby Berks. But those 6 enemies managed to make it really claustrophobic. But at the same time, you can sort of manipulate their behaviour a bit as well. Oops! Yeah, they're definitely getting faster. Like I say, I don't necessarily know that that's making the game any harder, because when you die, you do pick up where you left off. Oops! And that means that more of the baby Berks have hatched, which means that you can get at more of them, which means you can finish the level a lot more quickly. I don't know. This is one of those games as well where death animations can kill you. If you run into a baby Berk while it's still flashing, before it disappears from the screen, you'll still lose a life. Hello? There they are. Alright. Bait all them over there. Ah, they're chasing me. But I am the expert. I know this because the top left of the screen tells me so. "21 waves down. I really am a baby Berks master." Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Wonder if there's anything above expert. I guess we'll find out, huh? It's 22 waves down. Oh yeah, there we are. There is. Master. Oh yeah, a lot faster now. Okay, maybe we will run out of lives eventually. I do have a decent stockpile of them now, though. Come on. Oh, this is a tricky old stage, actually, the way it... that arrangement in the middle. Oh, we're good, though. I think we're good. Bait them in the middle there. And sneaky, sneaky round, and death to you all! X! Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. This is a bad place to stand. Oh dear. I'm not holding out high hopes for my survival on this specific level. Right, you stand around and be stunned. That's what you're good at. You will die horribly. Oh no, I think we might be alright. Well, after all, I am a master. Ouch! So when you get two one behind the other, it's quite tricky to time things in such a way that you can get past both of them. So I guess you want to try and avoid that, huh? Right, you stop. You... Oh! Oh no. See, otherwise you get into that situation there where you can't really fend any of them off. Yeah, tricky arrangement of enemies here. Run! No, that doesn't work. No, I don't actually know how you get out of that situation. Maybe you just need to... Ooh, running out of time. Just need to be a bit more decisive. Okay, so the time limit carries over from life to life. That's something. That adds a bit to the challenge. The time limit, if you haven't noticed, is that bar running across the bottom of the screen. Whoops. I have to say, this game has some of the most Atari 8-bit sounds I've ever heard in it. Like, it has the stereotypical Atari 8-bit engine sound, for one thing. That explosion sound is pretty commonly heard as well. And that bonk noise when you run into a wall as well, that is also heard all over the place. Like I mentioned a lot of times on this series before, I have very strong nostalgia for the sound effects of the old Atari computers specifically. It just brings back such fond memories when I hear a lot of these sound effects. Because I remember fiddling around with the sound commands in BASIC and trying to recreate them and all that sort of thing, and being really excited when I made a really cool sounding engine noise in BASIC. And then not quite having the programming skill to be able to put it into a game with any real meaning behind it, but you know, it was better than nothing. I was very young. And I did make some games in BASIC. I remember making a treasure hunt game. There was basically what I would discover in more recent years was effectively a recreation of Atari's flag capture game for the Atari 2600. But I composed it in BASIC. I mean, it wasn't very good. But, you know, it was a functional game. It had a win state and a loss state. It had custom redefined characters that I designed myself. You had your little man that you could move around the screen. There was a pond that you could fall in, and it made a splash sound when you fell in the pond. And there was a bomb that if you landed on the bomb, there would be an explosion sound. So I say, it was super simple. And there were lots and lots of things about just game design and stuff that I didn't really understand at the time because I was like 6 or 7, I guess. But I still found the experience of just doing that programming to be fascinating. And that was a key part of home computing in the 8-bit era in particular. Because all these computers came with BASIC built in, it was almost expected that everyone would use their computers as much for actually tinkering around with their own programming as they would for playing commercially released software. Or productivity, or whatever you use a computer for. But yeah, we used our Atari 8-bit for all sorts of things. We did word processing on it with Atari Writer. My dad reviewed a lot of productivity software for Page 6 magazine. So I've still got a lot of those up there. I've got things like Cut and Paste by, I think that was by Electronic Arts actually, if I remember correctly, or Areola Soft anyway, which was related to EA as I remember. I forget the exact connection. Stuff like Music Studio for the Atari 8-bit was really cool. But I think one of the most commonly used things we used ours for was Print Shop from Broderbund, which we would use all the time to make greeting cards and posters and celebratory banners and that sort of thing. But anyway, that's the story for a whole other day. I finally finished my game of Baby Berks with a high score of 110,400 points. I'm pretty pleased with that. That was good fun. Good fun. Arguably goes on a little bit too long, but I guess you can kind of mitigate that slightly if you choose to start from a higher skill level right from the outset, which I probably should have done. But there you go. I say, just the very existence of this game makes me happy because of Jon Williams' involvement in it and how it came to be in its Atari incarnation and all that sort of thing. So yeah, check it out. Check it out. Go give it a look. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.